Welcome to the Love Month. Wasn't that beautiful? Yes. The theme for the month is the compassionate heart, and I just love that. I just love love. It's great. Yeah. Anyway, there's all kinds of love, right? Unconditional love, and brotherly love, and international love, and love for our fellow human beings. And I read this little story that this woman was driving home like just erratically, and she was wanting to get home, and she was in a really big hot hurry, and she was beeping the horn because the people in front of her weren't going fast enough, and she zoomed around them, and she wound up hitting the red light anyway because it turned yellow, and the car in front of her stopped, and she's screaming and yelling at the guy and flipping him off, and well, a policeman rolled up on the scene and promptly arrested her. And down at the police station, she was still in a rant and still carrying on. And she said, what did you even arrest me for? I wasn't doing anything illegal anyway. Why you arrested me? And the cop said, well, I rolled up behind your car and I noticed the NOTW sticker in your back window, not of this world. And then I saw the license plate frame that said, born again Christian. And then I saw the little fish on your trunk. So naturally, I assumed it was a stolen vehicle. Because sometimes we're just not at our best, right? It's nice to believe it and it's nice to talk about it, but it really, really, honest to God, is a thing that we're supposed to be living. Anyway, so this is the Love Month, and welcome to it. And today's talk is the interdependence of all, and it reminded me of that beautiful speech that Elizabeth Warren gave. I don't know if you remember that, right before she was elected to the Senate in Massachusetts. She gave a wonderful speech about how nobody does it on their own. And as we live in this country, in this culture, nobody does anything on their own. There is no such thing as a self-made person at all. Even if you were, lived outside, you still use roads that we all paid for. You're still protected by police we all pay for. Even if you invent something on your own and you build your own factory, it's protected by the police we all pay for. If your house burns, firefighters respond, that we all pay for. You go to the supermarket. Very few of us grow our own food anymore, really, do we? So we go to the supermarket that someone else grew those vegetables and someone else, put them in a truck and drove them. So we are interdependent. The truth is there are no self-made anythings in our culture. We all depend on each other for lots and lots of things. And so this talk today, the interdependence of all, comes from a quote from Thomas Merton, and he said this. He said, "The whole idea of compassion is based on the keen awareness of the interdependence of all living things, which are all part of one another and all involved in one another." And that's really the truth of us. That is the truth. All life is some part of the life of God. All life is part of the one life. There is no other life. It is the life of God uniquely and individually expressing as each one of us. And the interesting thing is that science is now proving empirically what the mystics and the sages of old knew intuitively, that we're all connected. That we're all connected. Quantum mechanics and quantum physics is saying the same exact thing, that the web of life, the 0-point field that they talk about in physics, what they're saying is what we knew all along, that all life is interconnected, that everything is connected with everything else in some way, very much like the analogy of Indra's net in Buddhism, the Indra's jeweled net, which crosses over the entire universe, and that at each juncture of Indra's net is this beautiful jewel, and that it is all interconnected, this web of interconnectedness that stretches throughout the universe. And we're all in it, and we're all part of it. It is one life. And the reason why there are universal truths that run through all of our faith traditions too is because underneath all of this diversity and all this individuality stands the one life. And we are all connected to it. So it stands to reason that behind all of the differences in our faith traditions would be universal truths that run through it. Regardless of what it is, there are universal truths found in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vedas, and in the Tao, and the Noble Truths, and the Eightfold Path. There are underlying truths that run through all of them that are the same. Take the Golden Rule, for example. There's a golden rule in Christianity. In Matthew 7:1, All things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, ye should do to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Beautiful. Do unto others as you would want others to do unto you. There's one in every religion. Confucianism has it. Do not do unto others what you would not like for yourself. In Buddhism, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. In Hinduism, this is the sum of duty. Do not unto others what you would not have them do to you. Islam. No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself. Judaism. What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. This is the entire law. The rest is commentary. I love that. In the Tao, regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, and your neighbor's loss as your loss. And in Zoroastrianism, the nature alone is good, which refrains from doing unto another whatsoever is not good for itself. Every major religion in the world has a golden rule. Because behind all of the individuality, behind the different faith traditions, behind all of their little unique, quirky things, their rituals and their dogma and their training, behind all of that stands a few simple, really universal truths. There's one God, there's one life. Love God, love each other, do good. Doesn't get much more simple than that. And people everywhere feel the same way. Our teaching, Science of Mind, New Thought, teaches that these universal truths, that these things that run through all of the world's religions, these are the truths. This is what we call principle. And what we know about it is that it runs through all, whether or not people realize it, whether or not we're conscious of it, whether or not we're screaming and yelling at the car in front of us and we're forgetting our oneness. We're still all connected. There is an interconnectedness of all life. And when we know it and when we operate from that, from the truth of that, we're better off. We can't make war on someone we know to be ourselves. Well, we can, but it's really difficult. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, we can not only embrace ourselves, somehow our arms must find themselves around the shoulders of humanity. We cannot worship a God who belongs to us alone. Only as we enter into a feeling of the essence that diffuses itself everywhere, then at last we can look at each other and say, I worship God in your form. I worship God in your form. When I went to ministerial school, we studied the Bible. Yeah, no big surprise, right? Old and new. We studied the metaphysical Bible interpretation. But I also studied and was required in the Holmes Institute to study Islam. We had to study Buddhism. We had to study Hinduism, Gnosticism, Judaism. We had to study the philosophies of the Old West. The Old West, not the Old West. Anyway. Hey, cowboy. No, not that West. We had to study, the Greek philosophers. We had to be familiar not only with our teaching, New Thought, but we had to be familiar with all of the great religious teachings of the world, and I think that's a good thing. Because what happens is we discover that underneath all of the rituals and the dogma and the rules and all of those other things that separate one religion from the other, we come to find out that, we all believe in the same thing. We all believe in the same thing. Underneath it all, there are several universal truths, and they flow through all of the world's major religions. And about New Thought, Ernest Holmes said this. He said, our religious outlook is a universal one. There is tolerance in its concept and inclusion. The infinite is all-embracing. We work in harmony with all religious beliefs, since each in its own way seeks ultimate cause. That's what we're here about. That's what we were here about. And I think all seminaries would benefit by studying each other's teachings, so that everyone could find out that, underneath it all, we believe certain things. Love God, love each other, play nice. It doesn't get much more simple than that. And it'd be a great thing. It would be a great thing. It would break down this us and them mentality. It would absolutely break down the us and them mentality if we came to our faith traditions and said, wow, look at what we have in common. Look what we have in common. we would find God regardless of what people called it. Yahweh, Buddha, Allah, Shiva, Brahman, Elohim. God is God. Doesn't matter. Bob. Call him Bob, Doesn't matter. It's still God. Because the simplest teaching is the truth. The simplest is the universal truth. It's not about the dogma and the ritual. It's not about the rules that we've created. They're all man-made rules. It's about what stands behind that, those universal truths that say the same thing. And when we look at our teachings with those new eyes, then we find that, oh my God, we are all talking about the same thing. We are all entering into this relationship. We may be coming in through different doors. That's okay. But we're all entering into the same place, and to understand and to really live from that idea of the interconnectedness of all life. In ancient Egypt, they revered the divine feminine, and they had lots of goddesses. Well, the big one, Isis, and they had a real reverence for the divine feminine, and it spread throughout the region. I mean, it was very popular in the entire region at the time. And if you go back to the Old Testament, if you go back to Genesis 1:1, where we're all familiar with what it says, right? It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. However, that's not what it really says in the beginning. The actual Old Testament verse, they used the feminine plural for the word God. So actually, Genesis 1:1 says, with beginning, goddesses created. That's what it really says. Now, what happened to that line? You know what happened to it, right? Men edited the Bible, okay? That's what happened. Okay, my point is, let's not even go there. Okay, my point is, behind that, the difference is, you see that there is the similarity. There is that oneness. There is that idea that, we're more alike than we are different. There's a great little book, came out a couple of years ago that I read called, you're going to love this. It's called The 10 Things Your Minister Wants to Tell You But Can't Because He Needs the Job. And I love it. I think it's hilarious. First of all, because it assumes that the minister is a man. But anyway, it's a great title. It was written by a Baptist minister by the name of Reverend Oliver Thomas. And he's a real devout Baptist minister, but he wrote this little book, and it's a small little book, The 10 Things That Your Minister Wants You to Know But Can't Tell You. Anyway, the things that the minister wants you to know but won't tell you because he'll get fired, basically, we know to be true. In New Thought, we know these things to be true already. He says in the book, Genesis, the Bible, was never meant to be taken literally. No kidding. No kidding. I'm getting better. The Bible was not meant to be taken literally. He goes on to say, it is poetry, it is prose, it is mythology, it is apocalyptic literature. It's not a book, it's a library. It's a library. It's a series of books about ancient life. But it is not a history book. It was never meant to be taken literally. No surprise there. Might be a surprise in his teaching, but it's no surprise to us. One of the other things it says in the book is that the Bible is not the inerrant word of God. Oh my God, are you kidding? The Bible is not the inerrant word of God. And then he proceeds in this little book to give examples of the factual errors in the Bible. Mistakes God would never make, I got to tell you. Just like 1 Kings 7:23, where it gives the formula for a circumference of a circle as 3.0. Now, come on, we know pi. 3.14159265359 on and on and on infinitely, right? God would never make a mistake like that. Let's face it. 3.0, please. Okay? So he gives these examples, and he's got tons of them in the book, of the errors that are in there. But as a New Thought teaching, we can look at these ancient scriptures, but we look at them with our eyes. We look at them with the eyes of a metaphysical interpretation. We can understand that rituals developed as a result of literal interpretations. Dogma evolved as a result of literal interpretations. But we go beyond that. And apparently so do the Baptists now too, because it's a great book anyway. So we can see where different faith teachings came up with all kinds of different rules and regulations for us. But what stands behind all of that, all of the man-made stuff, all the editing, all of the rules, what stands behind that is the underlying truth of the oneness of all life, the interconnectedness of all life, and what we all have in common. Love God, love each other, do good works. It's that simple. It is that simple. Let's not make it more complicated than it is. You know, and lots of us were raised in different faith traditions. Who here was born into New Thought? Wow, 5. So who came to this from a different faith tradition? Who had a different faith tradition when they were growing up? Yeah, most of us. Most of us came from someplace else. And the places we came from could have been very nurturing and supportive of our questions, or not. You know, some of us came from faith traditions where we were told to question everything, and that's wonderful. I'd love that. I didn't have that. Some of us have come from faith traditions where you were told, don't question anything, you know, and that was the one I came from. Right before the nun hit me on the knuckles with the ruler, I was told, don't question anything, just accept it, it's God. That didn't work for me, clearly. What I know is this. I know that God, the infinite, the principle, the mystery, is impersonal. The energy that has created everything, the energy that self-sentient energy that said, I am, and the entire universe burst into being with that statement. That is an impersonal energy. That is the energy that drives the universe, that set the planets in their orbits, and that hung the stars in the skies. That is an impersonal energy. And I love that. It's not an old man with a big, long, white beard sitting on a cloud someplace going, yes, 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 no, no, yes, no, heaven, hell, heaven, 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 hell, because he woke up on the wrong side of the cloud that morning. Who knows, you know? It is a principle, but that is the impersonal aspect of the divine. That energy that created everything, that self-sentient energy that said, I am, and birthed the entire manifest universe into form and created the body of God, which is the universe itself, that is an impersonal aspect of the divine. And I love it. And you know what? I also love Jesus. And I love Buddha and Lao Tzu and Muhammad and all the great rabbis, all the great teachers, because they are the face of God. They brought the teachings to life. They lived the teachings that we talk about. Love God, love each other, do good works. They brought it to life. They were the face of God. And here is what I also know, that you are the face of God. I love God in your form. Yours is the face of God. Every single person on the planet is the face of God. Mother Teresa says, you know, why she did the work she did in India. She said, I love Jesus, and I love God, and I love God in all of its distressing disguises. I love God in all of its distressing disguises. So let's not get caught up in the stories that separate us, in the dogma, in the ritual. You know, Jesus taught one, remember it. It is way older than Jesus. The story of the Savior, the story of the divine birth and the inspired life and the sacrificial death, the crucifixion and the resurrection. That story is ancient. It is way older than Jesus. It happened hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus even walked the earth. It's an ancient archetypal story. It is the hero's journey. Jesus was just the latest iteration of it. The teaching is the takeaway from it, not what happened to him, but what he taught. The teaching is the takeaway. And the teaching is, Love God, love each other, play nice. That's the teaching. Love God, love one another, do good works. It's that simple. It is that simple. And our lives depend on us knowing it. There is an interdependence of all life. We are all woven together. We are creating this unique and incredible tapestry of humanity. And the life of all depends on our recognition of it. Ernest Holmes says there is no individual good. Good belongs to everyone. Good fulfills itself only as it multiplies itself. Therefore, there is no good that belongs to you and to me alone. No final peace that belong to us as individuals. The watchword is not exclusion, but inclusion. And the more good we release, the more good we experience. We all want the same things. We all want the same things. We want to be happy. We want to live free. We want to experience love. We want to express creativity. We want our children to be happy, to be successful. We want to be safe and secure. We want all of the same things. And it's only when we allow everyone else the same things do we experience it. We are interconnected. Quantum physics, whatever, even if you don't understand it, it's right. What the saints and the sages have said forever is correct. There is only one life. It is the life of God's. It is individualized as each one of us. We all make up that whole life of God's. We all demonstrate that one life of God's to the extent that we embody and believe it and demonstrate it. So this week I would invite you to embody and believe it and demonstrate it. Not like the lady in the car. But to obviously, to be conscious that we're connected. Be conscious, be aware. Live this week knowing our oneness. Knowing God showing up in that form, in that form, in that form, in that form. And God's over here and over there. And every person that you come across, every person that you see, you look into their eyes and you know God is there too. Thank you so much.